It shares a couple of the notes. The E minor chord has as its third G and as its seventh D, and then the A7 chord that has as its seventh G and its third C sharp. Well, those are the same two notes you would find in an E flat 7 chord, just respelled. Instead of C sharp, you would call it D flat, but it's the same note. It sounds the same, regardless of what you call it. So instead of A7, we're doing E flat 7. Another thing to know about these chords is their roots are a tritone away. So that's the easy, quick way to find these. Instead of thinking of all the music theory, just think this. An A7 chord is here. It's root A. Well, E flat is a tritone away, so A is to E flat, as G is to D flat, etc. So if the root of that chord on your 6th string is at a certain fret, the root of its tritone substitution is 1 fret higher on the A string, on the next string. That's a real quick and dirty way to find these tritone substitutions. So I could have a series of 2 5s. For instance, A minor to D, G minor to C, F minor to B flat. I can do a whole bunch of 2 5s in a row and substitute all of those 5s. So this turns into this. Every 7th chord I played earlier, every 5 chord gets turned into its tritone substitution. And another thing about these, the root motion, it goes down in half steps. So you hear the chords going like this. Chromatic, 1 fret at a time. Whereas when you do regular 2 5 1s, those root motions move in fourths. They move from like G to C, from F to B flat, from E to A. That's very typical, and that's a strong bass line, but the half steps are really flavorful. They really pull you in a certain direction. So instead of, say, C7, let's figure out what is the tritone substitution for a C7. Well, it's G flat 7. Uses the same tritone, but it's a half step away. And their roots are that evil interval there, the purple haze interval. That's a tritone. So the roots are a tritone away from each other. And that gives you stuff you can do in blues, you can do in rock, or if you want to sound jazzy, this is a great way to sound jazzy. Alright, so our original chord progression, like I did in the intro, that was E minor. I actually spiced it up. I made it E minor 9. There will be chord diagrams, by the way. I'll link to them down below. You can get to them, and if you're unsure of what an E minor 9 chord is, rather than me explaining the strings and the frets right now, just go to the chord diagrams and you'll check them out. So I did E minor 9, and then I did E flat 9. Instead of the boring A or A7, I did E flat 9. I did D minor 9 instead of a boring D minor. And then I did D flat 9 instead of a boring G7 or G. And then I did C major 7 sharp 11. And an added 6th actually. And an added 9. Oh, so that chord has a long name to it. But that basically is just a fancy C major 7. I'll give you that one. That's X32232. I use that chord a lot when I don't want to just play a plain old C. Kind of mysterious sounding. I like that one. So yeah, instead of going which would sound good, but that sounds kind of like beginner jazz when you're just dipping your big toe into the world of jazz and you're just learning your first 7th chords, you know, that would be okay. I remember when I went to Berklee College of Music, we had a class in my freshman year, the very first semester, called Chord Lab 1. And we did hours and hours of that. We sat there with those really basic seventh chords, and we drilled those. We went through this workbook, and we'd have to, as a class, play those in time. And that's good. That's a good solid skill to have at first. But then once you get into Chord Lab 2 and Chord Lab 3 and you start progressing, you're going to learn hipper ways to do these things. So that turns into this instead of, which is perfectly okay. But a little spicier would be. That's what I did in the intro. Extra spicy C chord there. All right, Guitar-Lalians, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to click the notify bell. I will definitely get to some more of this tritone substitution in our next tutorial. We are going to talk about the bridge to a song called Girl from Ipanema. We might even talk more about turnarounds, but this will at least give you a real basic idea of what we're talking about here. Tritone substitutions as seen in jazz guitar. All right, Guitar-Lalians, you take care. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.